You've probably seen a couple Star Trails photos similar to this here on Weekly 50 throughout the past several months. And in a way, they're all kind of the same because you see the horizon and then these arcs created by the stars. And often when I take photos and I talk about them here on Weekly 50, I talk about the considerations, like the exposure considerations, the aperture, the shutter speed, even the ISO, as well as some compositional elements. Here, I don't have anything to say about aperture and shutter and ISO because the camera just does it all for me. This was taken with my GoPro, where I literally just tap the button that says Star Trails mode. And you could go back and forth if you're like a photography purist. You could say like, well, you need to control every element of the exposure. And if you don't, then you're not a real photographer. Or you could just be like, hey, the camera did this for you. That's pretty cool. That's my attitude here. I'm not equipped for astrophotography. I don't have a super wide angle lens. I don't want to leave my expensive camera sitting out all night. And if the GoPro can just do it, then fine, I'll do it. And I don't have to do anything. I just set it up and go to bed. And that's what I did here. But what I do have to do is plan it out. So this is the second Star Trails photo. I did one the previous night that it was okay. But one thing about doing a Star Trails, unless you set it up during the day, which you can do, and just wait for the night to come to actually start taking photos, it's hard to see what you're looking at because everything is dark because it's night. And that's what happened the night before. So it wasn't composed quite right. It was fine, but I knew I could do better. So this is the second night of taking Star Trails. Incidentally, this is this is on the outskirts of a little town called Medicine Park, which is near a larger town called Lawton, Oklahoma. Phenomenal place. My family and I have been going there for years, not on like a regular schedule, but once a year or so, sometimes a little more, sometimes not as much. We will just go down there for a day or 2 days or 3 days. In this case, we were down there for several days with some friends. We got a cabin on the outskirts of Medicine Park, which is already a small town. And this is literally right behind the cabin. And the sky was so dark that I thought, or the sky was so clear that I really wanted to capture some Star Trails. So I set up the GoPro the first night and it was fine, but I knew I could do better. So this is the second night. I brought a flashlight with me when I set up my GoPro on the tripod, and I kind of looked around at the surroundings, like the tree on the left, and tried to position my GoPro so that it would sort of be on that side of the frame and that the North Star would be roughly where it is. There's only so much I could do, but I was happy with what I got. The tricky part here was the weather. It was really windy, and I actually woke up at about 3 a.m. and heard how windy it was. And to get this shot, I put my GoPro and the tripod right next to a tiny little pond, and I didn't want it to blow over and spend the night in the pond. I think they would have been fine. The GoPro would have been fine. I think the tripod would have been okay too, but I just didn't want that. So I ran out in the wind and at 3 a.m. and I scared a family of deer. Sorry about that, deer. And I brought my camera in. And then the next morning, I got the picture that I see here. These are immensely fun to take. If you have a GoPro, I strongly recommend checking out the Star Trails mode. It's super fun. That's not the reason most people buy an action camera. It's not the reason why I bought an action camera, but it is a really fun side benefit of having a GoPro. I don't know if the others do it, like a DJI Action 4 or the Insta360, but the GoPro does. So if you have a GoPro, check it out. It's super fun.